Chairman, we're now live. Sorry, Chairman, I think you're on mute there. I think it's muted you.
Yeah, sorry. Welcome to a virtual meeting of the North Applications Planning Committee of the London Borough of Hillingdon. This virtual meeting is also being broadcast simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. I'm Councillor Eddie Lavery, the Chairman of the committee and the Chairman of tonight's meeting. We're all very familiar with how this works. I'll just remind you about mobile phones, please, and make sure they are on silent. I'll do an attendance roll call to confirm who is here. If I call your name, if you just confirm your presence. Councillor Higgins.
Here, Chairman.
Councillor Hagger.
Good evening, Chairman.
Councillor Kaufman.
Good evening, Chairman.
Councillor Melvin.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm here.
Councillor Morgan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Oswell.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Councillor Dart.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Councillor Singh.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I'm present.
Good. That's all the councillors present. If I can just confirm the officers. The planning officer, James Wells.
Sorry, James, you're on mute at the moment.
I can see him, but he's still on mute.
Yeah.
I will move.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry about the slight delay.
Okay, good. That's good. The head of planning, James Roger.
I'm present, Chairman.
Highways, Alan Tilley.
I'm present, Chairman.
Democratic Services and our clerk, Luke Taylor.
I'm present, Chairman.
And our legal advisor for tonight, Kerry Munro.
Good evening, present, Chairman.
Good. I will remind you all in terms of technical meeting control, if any councillor leaves the virtual meeting partway through, e.g. for a lost connection, and it's not been a good day for connections, I will continue the meeting as long as I'm quorate, which is 3 councillors. Importantly, of course, if you leave for any part of an item, you may not vote on that item. By my reckoning, we have no apologies for absence. Can I have declarations of interest, please?
Yes, Chairman, I'm declaring a non-pecuniary interest in 48 Manor Road, item 7, as I was involved in the with the residents on the original application.
So you will switch your camera and microphone off and not
I
take
will
part in
switch
that
my
debate.
camera and my microphone off.
Thank you. The minutes of 16th of September in your bundles. Can I take those as agreed? Yep. No one's raising any objections, so they're good. The agenda we are taking tonight is the one that was published by the head of planning. There have been no changes to it. Items 6 and 7 have petitions. 8 is a non-petition, and 9 is a noting item. All of those are in part 1 and in public. We have 2 enforcement reports, items 10 and 11, and for that part of the meeting, we will go into private session. That's all the administration done. Can I start, please, with agenda item 6, 31 Frithwood Avenue, Northwood. James, would you care to present, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. This slide shows the location of the site.
Sorry, James, we don't seem to have
your
the...
presentation. The screen's not showing your presentation.
Can Michael Clark help, the IT?
I, Kerry, if there are any problems, I think James might just be popping over to help. But if there are any problems, I would be able to put the presentation up. and then they'll just have to let me know how to when they want me to move the slide on. So
yeah, which is why it's easier if they can do it.
yeah,
If they
That
move
comes
their
up
own
and then-
slide.
But then it comes up on the full screen, which I'm not sure if
You now need to hit that present button again, and we're good to go, I think.
love it. That's good to me, James. James, sorry, you are muted at the moment, so you will need to unmute yourself as well just before you begin presenting.
James, are you ready to go? You're up on screen, so
sorry about this. It should be working more properly. I think I've been having some issues with my computer for a while. Apologies, everybody.
Luke, are you able to take over the presentation?
Yeah, I can put the
Ask James
presentation
to
up if
move
you
the
like.
slides
Yeah.
When you want to slide move.
Sure, just bear with me and I'll just try and...
Hang on.
James, the slides do seem to be up, so...
Are you able to move them, James?
Yes, I can. I think. Shall I
go.
continue?
Yeah.
Thank you. Apologies for that delay. This slide shows the location of the site. The application is being reported to committee following a petition received objecting to the application. As set out in the report, the application is seeking a retrospective minor material amendment to an application that was approved in September 2019 to install a lift, convert a window to a door, relocate an ensuite from one room to another, and introduce a wet room. These slides show the previously consented floor plans and the elevations. The next few slides show the proposed plans and elevations. The following slides show many photographs of the site and the layout and interior of the building. As I'm going through the slides fairly quickly, I hope members will understand there's a lot of them. But while I'm going through the slides, I would like to point out, as we get to it, on slides 22 and 23, the red lockers. Further down on the next slide, multiple washer dryers on slide 24, and then on slide 32, the room 5 slide. If I could take you back quickly to the ground floor plans, or I can show members with regards to the location of the lift, if that can be seen on ground and first floor, the location of the window that's to be converted into a door, the the relocation of the ensuite, which was previously in this sort of area, has now gone to this area, and the introduction on the ground floor of a wet room. Taking forward the presentation, the proposal under this application is considered to facilitate a material change to the use of the property from a dwelling house to a care home residential institution, which is use class C2. The change of use could harm the amenity and reasonable enjoyment of the neighbouring properties for current and future occupiers. And as set out in the report, the access officer has also objected to the application. As set out on the addendum sheet, there is reference to a joint objection received from 2 ward councillors, which Luke Taylor will read out at the end of this presentation, along with the statement from the agent. For the reasons outlined within the report, the application is recommended for refusal. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Luke, can we have the petitioner's statement? And I think there's an applicant statement and a ward council statement as well. So I'll leave you to do all 3, please.
Yes, Chairman, I've got 2 petitioner statements, the second of which has a couple of photos which I'll bring up on screen, and then I also have the agent and applicant. So starting with the first petitioner statement, which reads, "Thank you to the committee for the opportunity to raise our concerns regarding the development. The application seeks approval for retrospective minor structural amendments. However, we, the parents, carers at Frithwood Primary School, object to the proximity of the facility so near to our school. Our e-petition gathered 51 signatures, which is in addition to a petition raised by local residents, around 40 signatures. It is important to highlight the school community does not object to the nature of the facility and welcomes such a home to support the growing need in the community. Frithwood School prides itself on being an inclusive school with children and families from a variety of backgrounds, including those with additional needs. School parents, carers have been concerned about the proximity of the facility so close to the school for some time now, having first been made aware of the development in 2018 with another petition that gathered a further 130 signatures. At this time, the proposal for a Class C2 home was rejected by the committee for reasons including the local residents and community concerns. Local residents in the school community were then under the impression that the property was being converted to a single-family dwelling based on subsequent approval. However, the property was converted into a care home for adults with behavioural and complex needs during summer 2020. This was done during COVID lockdown. Canterbury Close residents then received a letter from the property owner stating the property had been converted to a facility as described above. The property was already housing at least one resident plus on-site staff. The owners state the property had been built in line with Class C3B regulations. However, per property plans and the subsequent planning officer's report confirming that it is highly unlikely to fit this criteria, e.g. a lack of suitable communal space and the appearance of 6 or 7 self-contained units, it's clear the property is much more aligned to a Class C2 facility. It's the proximity of the facility so close to school that is the concern to the school community. In addition to the notable noise and antisocial disturbance that's being reported by neighbours, there are already reports of aggressive shouting by the resident while parents and children have been walking past the property. This has caused significant distress to those families and children. The school already has experience of antisocial behaviour towards pupils from residents of other facilities in the near vicinity. The presence of another facility so close to the school has heightened concerns amongst the school community about potential for further safeguarding issues. Below are some of the Frithwood School head teacher and governing board concerns, which still remain today. We're an established primary school in Northwood. One of our entrances to the school is on Chartwell Road, a few yards away from 31 Frithwood Avenue. We currently have over 400 pupils attending the school between the age of 3 to 11. Many of our pupils walk directly past the above property on their way to and their way home from school. Parents and carers directly on Frithwood Avenue, park directly on Frithwood Avenue and walk the short distance to the school entrance and are unable to avoid the property. Many of our Year 6 children walk to the property independently as they prepare for the transition to secondary school. We are extremely concerned by the proposed location of such a care facility being within yards of a primary school. The proposed planning application makes no reference and has given no thought to the proposed facility being within the school's immediate vicinity. We hope that our objection to the planning proposal and our safeguarding concerns will be given appropriate consideration. This submission has been discussed with and has the full support of the Northwood Residents Association, who echo the views of the school community and local residents. In summary, the location is simply not appropriate in a quiet residential area upon the doorstep of a primary school. With lack of amenities to support facility residents in the immediate area, families and residents feel strongly that the facility should not be located at this site. There's significant concern amongst the community that this facility has been built with apparent disregard to their needs. The impact on local residents and the school community is already apparent even without full occupation of the facility. We ask the planned committee to give closure to this ongoing matter. Many thanks for your time. So that was our first petitioner submission. The second one comes with some photos, so I'm just going to quickly roll through the photos on screen. Hope everyone can see that. So that's the first photograph. This is the second. And this is the third. So I'll just read the representation out. I am the lead petitioner of the petition dated 26th of September, which is against the application regarding 31 Frithwood Avenue, Northwood, and we support and endorse the planning case officer's report and decision to refuse the application as fully and precisely stated in the report. We're happy with the previous approval decision to the property to be a single-family dwelling house and draw your attention to the wording of our petition, which makes comment also as to the views of parents and children and teachers at the nearby Frithwood Primary School. In our opinion, the proposal under this application would distinctly alter the character of the building as a single-family dwelling house to facilitate a material change to the use of the property from a single-family dwelling house to a care home residential institution, use class C2. And it has been borne in mind that number 31 is in close vicinity to the Northwood Frithwood conservation area. The property is now actually laid out as a 7-bedroom house, and the change in the current in the descriptions of the bedroom from the original approved plans are now so described within the current application to be disabled rooms also shows the intent of the use. The council planning enforcement team has been monitoring the many changes and alterations to the building since mid-2019. Warning letters have been issued during the intervening period, pointing out the unauthorized alterations that have been made and the awareness of the 24/7 staffing needed to care for at least one person in occupation with complex needs and or mental health problems. It is now known the stated intended use is that of a care home for up to 6 people, including staff, so permission for a 7th bedroom would facilitate in excess of 6 persons in the residence. The common facilities, as now proposed, are cramped for a 7-bedroom home. The layout as presented built is therefore much more akin to a purpose-built care home rather than a single-family dwelling. In fact, Care Assist Limited left no doubt when they sent a letter to all nearby residents recently, which had a heading, "A specialist service for adults with learning difficulties." My understanding is that a single dwelling can be used for up to 6 residents, including those receiving care. However, such activity is regulated by a governing body, which in this case, as Care Assist is on the Care Quality Commission website as being a provider of care services and regulated by CQC. The applicant has refused to state how many staff are involved, citing data protection. BIFA refused containers evidence that the fact that number 31 is not a family type dwelling. The case officer's report describes what was seen on inspection that is different from a single family dwelling, and in particular a fire alarm system different to smoke detectors. Each bedroom has ensuite facilities, including the 7th bedroom, described as a sleep-in room, and each room is supplied with a fridge and also a microwave oven, all different to a single family dwelling. A lift has also been installed and a fire assembly point notice stands on the front lawn. There have been bad experiences of noise and disturbance by so-called residents. So much so that an antisocial behaviour notice was delivered by the council to the council by a resident of next door, number 33. Furthermore, the vehicle parking spaces at number 31 as of now will be inadequate for a care home given the likely comings and goings of various vehicles. As it is with the single resident residing and the support staff there have been 4 cars parked at number 31. So we don't know what would be the position when they're at full capacity. They're including photographs of the parking which was taken on the morning of the 12th of October. You'll see one car parked by the gate of the rear of 31 and another one next to it parked on Canterbury Close. There are 3 additional cars in front of number 31. And so those were the photos which were on screen. We hope the committee will agree with the case officer and refuse the application. So I'll just quickly show the photos again, and then I will stop sharing that one. So right, and the final submission, I believe there was an agent submission as well, which I'll read out now. So dear members, I'm grateful for this opportunity to address the committee in writing, and this site, 31 Frithwood Avenue, has been subject of previous proposals for development. It's a former guest house for which consent was granted last September for C3 use. The extant consent allows the use of the property as any falling within Class C3, including C3B, up to 6 people living together as a single household. There are no planning conditions restricting this use otherwise. The legal opinion sought from planning solicitors supports this position. The proposal for consideration under the application. The current application seeks retrospective consent for amendments made to the 2019 approved layout of the dwelling. The amendments for which consent is being sought are A, a new wet room to improve accessibility, B, the relocation of an ensuite, C, the conversion of a window to a door on the side elevation, and D, the introduction of an internal lift not visible externally. All these amendments will improve the comfort of members in the household. You will see from site photographs that none of them are unsightly in any way. There's been a general feeling locally that the property would have been better retained as a guest house, and there have been objections raised in relation to its conversion. Although not every dwelling constructed will have a wet room, ensuite or a lift, it's not entirely out of character for a dwelling of this scale to have these features. They've been well designed, do not harm the fabric of the building in any way. We therefore respectfully request that you grant planning consent for these minor changes proposed to the layout of the dwelling. The application before you does not propose a change to the use of dwelling. No further change of use is being sought. The officer's report states that due to the change of use, presumably that historically granted in 2019, there could be harm to the amenity and reasonable enjoyment and amenities of the neighbouring properties for current and future occupiers. No explanation or indeed justification is provided as to how the introduction of a wet room, relocation of an ensuite, amendment of a window to a door, or introduction of a lift to improve accessibility internally, not visible from outside the dwelling, could cause harm to the amenity and reasonable enjoyment and amenities of neighbouring properties for current and future occupiers. The dwelling is designed to accommodate members of the household with care needs. This in itself appears to be the sole reason for objections. Although most residents locally are able-bodied, it doesn't mean that the neighbourhood should exclude those who are not. Paragraph 4, the report states that the applicant has failed to provide detailed information relating to its use or a site management plan to ensure that the property incorporates appropriate design security features to deter crime and antisocial behaviour. I found this statement shocking for 2 reasons. 1, I made repeated requests to the case officer to query whether any additional information or clarification in determining the application was needed, and had a telephone conference with the officer during which I was told that no additional information was required. And 2, the proposal is to amend the layout of the approved design. I don't understand how the information the officer considers is required would be relevant in determining the appropriateness of the design amendments, or why these amendments would encourage antisocial behaviour, in her opinion. In section 3.2 of the officer's report, a few additional minor amendments are noted. We would request that these are considered alongside the ones previously highlighted for your consideration. The report provides no detailed explanation as to why proposed minor amendments listed above for which consent is being sought are unsuitable. Would therefore appeal to you to grant planning permission for this development in keeping with the spirit of the MPPF. Paragraph 38 of the MPPF requires local planning authorities to approach decisions on proposed development in a positive and creative way and work proactively with applicants to secure developments that will improve the economic, social and environmental conditions of the area. The applicant has lost faith in the local planning system. I appeal to you to help me restore that faith by approving these minor amendments in accordance with the section 73 of the TCPA 1990. That concludes the written submissions.
Thank you, Luke. James Roger, did you want to just come in before we begin?
Yes, I'll just comment briefly, Chairman. I have received a solicitor's letter from the applicant. I have carefully considered it, but I'm not proposing any alterations to the officer recommendations in the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. In which case, I will open it up. Right, I saw Councillor Oswald, followed by Councillor Higgins, followed by Councillor Morgan. How about that?
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much, Chairman. Nice to be with you tonight, thankfully. Yeah, for me, Chairman, I think it's quite clear. I mean, at the bottom of page 7 on the report, it says, for the reasons outlined within this report, the application is recommended for refusal. And if you turn over to page 8, it's quite clear from the top down through the refusal reasons 1, 2 and 3, and the informatives as well, 1 and 2 and 3. I think it's quite a solid report, Chairman, and I'm quite happy with it, and I'm going to support the officer's recommendation, and I'll make it easier, and I'll move refusal now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. That's a good start. Right, Councillor Higgins, followed by Councillor Morgan.
Hello there. Sorry, Chairman. Yes, it's all been said, and I totally agree. And to make it quickly, I will second this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I mean, if you look at the proposed plans and the original consented plans, you know, it is changing from a house, a single dwelling, to a care home of sorts. You know, where we've lost the lounge, we've lost the study or games room. You know, they've now become disabled rooms, and then on in the loft, we've now gained a second room up there. So we've gone from a 5-bedroom to a 7-bedroom, as well as everything else that's been reported. And I'm more than happy to support the officer's recommendations.
Thank you. I see no other hands, and I'm proposed and seconded, so therefore I'm going to move to the vote. The officer recommendation is for refusal. So, and I will start. Councillor Higgins proposed, seconded refusal, so that's fine. Councillor Hagger.
Yes, for officer recommendations for refusal, Chair.
Councillor Kaufman.
Yeah, Chairman, I'm also happy with the officer's recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Melvin.
Yes, Chairman, I'm for the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
I'm for the officer's recommendations.
Councillor Oswald proposed them. Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Chairman. I support the officer recommendations.
And Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chairman. I support the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
That is 8 votes supporting officer recommendations, which is a refusal to the application. Do you agree, Luke?
Yes, Chairman, I concur with that.
I move to the second application of tonight, 48 Manor Road, Northwood.
And I will leave at this point, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Melvin. James, when you're ready, if you can begin sharing.
Sorry, again, this isn't working very well. Apologies, everybody.
It's okay. It's come up okay, James.
Okay, thank you. I'll just move to the relevant part of the presentation, everybody. Thank you, James. Thank you, Chair. The application site is located on the northwestern side of Murray Road, west of Craigmore Court. The existing single-storey bungalow is accessed by a private road with a gated entrance. Full planning permission is sought for the demolition of the bungalow and the erection of a terrace of 3 4-bed dwellings and 1 4-bed detached dwelling with habitable roof spaces, parking, refuse and cycle storage, and amenity space. The following slides show the existing floor plan of the bungalow and its elevations. The following slides show the proposed floor plans and elevations of the 4 new dwellings. So this is the site plan, ground floor plan, and there is shown in a blue colour an overlay of the existing bungalow. Going on from there, there is the proposed ground floor plan without the overlay, and then first floor plan and second floor plan. There are many plans showing the roof, elevations, and so on. I'll click through those quite quickly and take members to the photographs, which begin at slide 76. Please bear with me. So as I was saying, we now have some photographs showing the site, an aerial view, a view down the access road, a view of the bungalow itself, and then some photographs showing the bungalow and existing other existing development. I'll leave the presentation on that slide for the time being and take members through recent planning history. As members, I think, are aware, a previous application for 4 two-storey dwellings was refused in June 2020 for reasons of being considered to be an overdevelopment, providing poor quality amenity space, failing to provide satisfactory refuse storage, management and collection arrangements. With regards to consultations, 10 objections and a signed petition and objection have been received, and the Northwood Residents Association has also objected. The objections are summarised in section 6 of the report. They include concerns about overdevelopment and overlooking loss of privacy. As set out on the the addendum sheet, a joint objection has been received from 2 ward councillors. An objection from a neighbouring resident, who I think is the lead petitioner, has also been received, and on the addendum sheet an officer response is provided. Luke Taylor will read out these representations and the agent's representations after this presentation. Taking members to the main planning issues, and I'll click back, if I may, to slide 56. To address previous reasons for refusal, this application now includes refuse storage for houses A to C along Lingfield Close. So I can highlight those to members. The refuse storage areas here, here. Sorry, we've clicked back. Here and here. And these are only to be used for refuse storage and collection as required by condition 8 in the report. Now, if I may, I'll click down to slide 67, which provides a comparison between the originally approved application or the previously refused application and the current application. Apologies. Right, to assist members, the upper layout is the layout that was refused earlier this year. The layout at the lower part of the screen shows the current proposed layout. As shown on the slide, houses A to C have been repositioned further to the south of the site to provide, in particular, larger, better quality gardens and to avoid incursion on the root protection areas of the trees shown on the plans. A daylight and sunlight assessment has been submitted, which confirms that the gardens would benefit from good levels of light. The slide on the screen also shows that the proposed forecourt area in front of units A, B and C is used more efficiently. It's a smaller area than is shown on the layout above, and it includes additional soft landscaping. As set out on the amendment sheet, condition 6 has been amended and the requirement for cycle storage provision has been deleted. In conclusion, officers consider that the changes noted above, together with the daylight and sunlight report, address and overcome the previous reasons for refusal. The application is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions set out in the report. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chair.
Luke, can we have the petitioners, applicants and ward council statements, please?
Yeah, you can indeed. Again, there are a couple of slides with this, so I'll just grab them up quickly for you. Okay, so there should be a few on the screen, and I'll run through these as well. They are referenced in the petition's written submission. So this is from the lead petitioner, and they are requesting the refusal of the revised application for development proposed at 48 Murray Road. And the reasons for this are the impact on surrounding properties. The revised plans show no significant changes to the original. Despite the recommendation for approval, there remain many areas of considerable concern. The marginal changes do not address the major problems and have made the situation worse. The reasons for this are the overdevelopment. 4 ostensibly 5-bedroom houses in an overdevelopment of the site, which should be considered a cramped and unsuitable site for this number and size of houses. This is not an intimate development as suggested. The height of the 3-storey properties will have considerable impact regarding views from overlooking surrounding properties, and including removal of trees and shrubs within the boundary lines gives rise to intrusion of privacy, and that's on slide 1, which is before you now. This isn't what was portrayed by the developers. With no footpath along the access driveway to Murray Road, creates health and safety issues for pedestrians, including children and the elderly. There is a limited street parking for visitors. Will they park along the driveway? The housing need. Whilst planning policy supports additional homes, here it's just 3. London Borough of Hillingdon is stated to be well ahead across the borough, and here it does not outweigh the impact on many residents. Light pollution is a consideration not mentioned. 4 houses, including internal lights, exterior lighting, including security lights and garden lights, and the entrance driveway lighting will have an impact on the privacy of all surrounding premises and noise on the existing wildlife population and on the existing wildlife population. Noise and emissions pollution of traffic using the main entrance driveway, immediately affecting adjacent Mansion House and Craigmore Court. We disagree that a maximum of 2 cars would be using the driveway at peak times. Inevitably, houses of this size will have school and work runs as a given, so the long and narrow driveway from Murray Road is totally unsuitable for 4 households. Residents of Mansion House have expressed grave concern with bedrooms situated immediately adjacent to the driveway. The removal of shrubbery along the driveway for widening will further exacerbate the problem. Emergency vehicles would find great difficulty accessing the site, especially in fire hazard situations with residents on the driveway to escape the fire and fire engines using the driveway to access the site. There'll be no space for an ambulance too, and this is on the slide that's before you and the following slide, slide 3, which I'll just show now. So the revised refuse and recycling. The revised plans show 3 access points opposite 17 to 21 Lingfield Close for refuse to be collected, which is not acceptable. Implications are gateways and pathways which will require clearing shrubbery, at present extending between the development site and Lingfield Close, which are on slides 4 and 5, which I will just go through to now. So that's slide 4. And that's slide 5, which shows it. 3 households with 3 separate waste collections, general, garden and food, and recycling, leads to the empty bags and spillages from collections littering Lingfield Close. Noting the planning officer's comments, there will be no right of way back via back gateways to Noting the planning officer's comments, there will be no right of way via back gateways by those households into Lingfield Close. How can these bags and bins be collected and returned to the refuse stores after each separate collection, sometimes hours apart? Would residents walk down their main driveway, along Murray Road and up Lingfield Close, pick up the bags, bins and return them to the store after each collection, then walk back up the main driveway? No. They'll come through their refuse store access gate, even though not permitted. The refuse collectors do a good job, but it's not in their remit to tidy away bags and bins, pick up spillages or take items left out. Disruption and inconvenience caused by refuse collection should not impact on the lives of Lingfield Close residents. Everything relating to 48 Murray Road should be accessed by the main driveway onto Murray Road. The distances from houses A, B and C are equal to that of D, and therefore it's reasonable to suggest that all houses use the same refuse collection. This eliminates the need for access onto Lingfield Close. So in conclusion, the local residents would like to reiterate the original objections giving rise to the petition there. Bear with me, and then I'll move on to the next representation, which is from the agent. It states, this representation has been prepared by Savills, who act as a planning advisor to the applicant here in respect of 48 Murray Road, in support of a revised planning application to deliver 4 family homes with generous landscape gardens, all over 100 square metres, with dedicated car and cycle parking on a sustainable and underutilised residential site. The proposed developments seek to meet the clear and substantial borough-wide requirement and need for larger family-sized homes. Particularly in light of COVID-19, the scheme delivers 4 homes with dedicated areas for home working, as well as high-quality outdoor amenity areas, which should be supported by the council. As set out in the council's report, the redevelopment of the site is logical and considered acceptable in principle. The proposed design is considered appropriate within the site's context, and the proposal would not have an adverse impact on the amenity of neighbouring properties or the local highways network. The council's tree and landscape officer and highways engineer both reviewed the proposals and confirmed that they have no objections or concerns, subject to conditions which are agreed and supported by the applicant. The proposals have been revised to address concerns from the planning committee members in respect of a previous application that was refused. As considered by council officers, the revised application overcomes the previous reasons for refusal. Furthermore, the proposals have also considered comments and pre-application discussions from neighbouring properties. Proposals have been revised in the following ways. House D has been set away from the boundary with Leaf Close by a further metre, and the dormer window removed that was previously facing Leaf Close. The total separation distance with Leaf Close is 26.5 metres, with significant copse of trees all retained on Leaf Close land. There are also 5 new trees to be planted alongside the boundary with Leaf Close to further screen the development. Both houses A and C have been resited to improve and increase the garden areas to the rear, as well as improve accessibility. A BRE daylight, sunlight and overshadowing assessment demonstrates that all gardens will comply with BRE standards for sunlight to amenity areas. Improvements to reduce the level of incursion on the root protection area of an adjacent mature tree. Refuse storage for houses A, B and C have been provided adjacent to Lingfield Close as requested by Council Highways refuse officers. An increase in soft landscaping and planting has been proposed to improve amenity for future occupiers and enhance the landscape setting. The design, scale, layout and separation distances within the site and with neighbouring properties have all been developed to comply with the Council's pre-application advice and adopted policies and guidance. As considered by Council officers, the development would have no adverse effects on neighbouring properties and is considered acceptable in design terms. Development protects and doesn't harm any Category A or B trees based on expert arboricultural consultancy input. New semi-mature tree planting and infill landscaping will enhance the site's landscape character and biodiversity value. The council's assessment confirms that the proposal will retain and safeguard the sylvan character and appearance of the area. The highways and refuse design and operations have been developed with expert transport and highways consultants and reviewed by the council's highways engineer. The refuse collections for houses A to C will be from Lingfield Close, as agreed and requested by council officers. The single refuse collection from Murray Road is to be retained as used by the existing dwelling. The application the application should be supported as it delivers high quality family sized homes with home working areas and gardens to meet an identified need, together with significant landscape works and enhancement and financial contributions toward infrastructure through local and mayoral SIL of over 75,000. The application is compliant with local and national planning policies in all respect and has been submitted with care and attention to the site's context and neighbours. The application has been revised to overcome the previous reasons for refusal and has also been informed by continued engagement with the council. We trust that members will support the recommendation and grant planning permission. I've got one final submission from the ward councillors from Northwood, and this is a written submission from Councillor Richard Lewis. He states, I write on behalf of Councillor Seaman Digby Collins and myself in objecting to the above reference planning application at Northwood Road. We would ask the North Planning Committee to refuse this application on the basis that its reapplication shows no marked changes to the previous application which was refused, and that the minimal changes that the applicant has made do not mitigate or minimise the issues that resulted in the previous refusal. The applicant has suggested this is an intimate development. We would suggest that 4 5-bedroom houses on such a small plot is in fact a massive overdevelopment of the site. 3-storey height will have a major impact on surrounding properties as well as the street scene, and will require the removal of numerous trees and shrubs on the boundary lines, which will result in severe loss of privacy for all neighbours. The long driveway is far too small to allow the traffic that will result from 4 new houses, and will obviously could lead to severe access issues for emergency service vehicles. Real concerns also regarding the transporting and the leaving of refuse and recycling in Lingfield Close, as well as the recollection of green waste bags and food recycling containers. We suspect there are no rights of passage via back gardens, that some bags will simply be thrown over fences and may very easily break open upon landing and spill their contents. It would seem highly unlikely that each property's waste, even for only 1 week, will be bagged, dragged, carried all the way along the main driveway, along Murray Road and up into Lingfield Close. Developer says this will happen, but in practice, future owners will not be under the control of the developer, and so in all likelihood they will simply throw the rubbish into Lingfield Close. It's not for us to suggest what should be allowed or refused, but the site would seem to be more appropriate given its scale and accessibility for the building of either 1 or 2 houses. And that concludes all the written submissions on item 7.
Thank you. And I would remind members the officer did make reference to an addendum. There is an addendum sheet on this item. But whilst all that was going on, I thought I saw 3 hand signals. I may have missed some, but I think I see a 4th now. I see the head of planning. I've got councillors Morgan, Haggart and Higgins listed on my sheet. James, do you want to come in before councillors, or do you want to let councillors start?
Yeah, I just thought it might help because there's obviously an awful lot has been said to councillors, and I just thought if I could just give my little executive summary, and there might be an extra condition that might help members on, which I'm going to recommend in a minute. So when members last dealt with this, I think it may have been mentioned before, but the actual density of this development is less. It's a lower density than the current development at Lingfield Close, at Leaf Close, because this is quite a big site. The problem with the last committee meeting is the layout of the 4 houses created a number of issues, and members unpicked that it resulted in gardens there where the trees had to be overshadowed. There was concerns, and the refuse was a concern as well. So the developers effectively done what is now considered to be the optimum layout for 4 dwellings. Now, I know at least one councillor said their preference would be 3 dwellings, but the developer has done their best to see if 4 dwellings works, and your officers think they've done enough to overcome the committee's 2 previous concerns. Now, I would also say that what members do need to do is to work out whether this application overcomes their previous concerns rather than do they like the application, because that's really the question members need to ask themselves: have the previous refusal reasons been overcome? There was quite a lot of references to refuse on Lingfield Close effectively causing issues, and it almost sounded to me as if there's a concern that the refuse may be deposited in ways that perhaps we might associate with HMOs or student housing. And obviously, it must be noted that these are what I would call, these are 5-bed executive houses. However, if members were very concerned about potential occupiers, how can I put it, managing their refuse in a way more akin to occupiers of an HMO, then maybe one way of addressing that. So in the report, we have sought to withdraw permitted development rights for all the different categories of extension to try and further protect the surrounding residents in the future. And that's quite an important condition that might come under threat at appeal, dare I say. But a further condition members may wish to consider is also take away permitted development that would allow the occupiers of future dwelling houses to convert them to HMOs of 6 beds or less without planning permission. Because under normal permitted development, you can change a dwelling house to an HMO of a certain size without planning. And if members wish to take away that permitted development, that you could do through an additional condition, and I wouldn't have a problem with members adding that condition. I think it could be argued to be justifiable. You might actually quite cleverly go some way to address the residents' concerns that future occupiers may behave in a sort of unneighbourly way when it comes to refuse, how their refuse is managed. We can't, it'd be wrong to tarnish all occupiers of HMOs as not being good at handling their refuse, but there's a lot of evidence in the borough that occupiers of HMOs do cause more problems in terms of their refuse. So that would be my additional condition, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, James. As usual, helpful. I'll start. The 3 councillors I've got as already indicated, and we'll work from there. Councillor Morgan, you were first on my list, so away we go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, officers, for this. Unfortunately, I can't see much difference between this application and the application we saw a month or so ago. We're still looking at 4 detached buildings, 4 4-bedroom detached buildings, all of them 3 stories. It's an overdevelopment of the site. If it was 3 houses, we could get away with it, but 4, I'm sorry, no, I can't go with officers' recommendations on this, and I would go for refusal on this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hagger.
Thank you, Chair. I've looked at this in depth, and I actually can't see how we could actually not support the officers. So I'm a little bit opposite to Councillor Morgan. I think we've agreed that there's 4 properties anyway. I don't think there's going to be any limit that we couldn't get away with that and say 3. My concern really amongst all of this is still really the refuge. That's the only thing I've got a problem with, the refuge. And listening to what James has said about the condition, I definitely would like to see that put in. So that's a definite. I think we are a bit limited as to what we can do with the refuge anyway. So I can't think of any other conditions to secure it a little bit better than that. The only thing, and I do remember bringing this up last time, so excuse me if I'm duplicating a bit here, but I just want to get it clear in my head, was the Whitby drive. So could we just see that again? And the emergency vehicles, Chair, that they were saying that it wouldn't support vehicle. Can we just clarify that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. James, can you just clarify that for me? James Wells, sorry, can you just clarify that for me?
Microphone is clicked off. Alan Tilley may have some information about refuse vehicles, but I don't think they're included on the slides in the presentation. But information.
No, the question was the width of driveways, because the refuse vehicle only has to collect from House D, which is something they already do for the existing bungalow. The rest of the houses will be collected via the back gates that have been put onto Lingfield Close. The question is what's the driveways for other emergency vehicles.
Before Alan answers the question about width, the refuse arrangements for dwelling D are going to match those of the existing dwelling, which provides a refuge storage area very close to the site entrance in Manor Road. So there shouldn't be any problems, because the refuse vehicle would not have to enter the site because it's within the carry distance of refuse normally, as I understand it.
Yeah, no, I think that's clear. Can we just confirm what the width of this driveway is? Because the only vehicles, the refuge won't need to go up it, but obviously emergency vehicles, other vehicles might. Have we got a width of the driveway, Alan?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Where there would be landscaping, the carriageway is still 4.5 metres wide. To give some sort of perspective on that, a parking space is 2.4 metres wide, so you can judge for yourselves. It's sufficiently wide. Thank you.
Very clear. I think that answers Councillor Hagger's question.
Thank you, Chair.
So I know Councillor Cowper's indicated, I've got Councillor Higgins on my list.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I don't personally, I can't support this application. And I mean, Firstly, I think it still is overdevelopment, and the canopy of the trees still affecting amenity area. That's one of my main concerns. I don't see really that significant change. The HMO thing that James suggested, I'm surprised we don't put that on more applications. We should do it normally, I think. And to think that executives will walk around when there are busy people trying to shoot off to work every day, I can't see that happening. What will happen with the waste is they'll put a gate in there, and then
hang on. Can I put some clarity in that? The plans actually show gates.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
being slightly misled by the ward councillor's
Yes,
commentary.
okay.
The plans actually show a gate to take your refuge
but
out the bottom of the
yeah,
garden.
that's fine. I totally agree with that, and I'm saying that the gates are there, and that will then cause the other problem that we were concerned about last time was then using that gate as another place to park cars and to use it to get out of the site. So for me, I can't support this. I don't know whether we have any grounds for refusal. I mean, I still think there's overshadowing, and I think there still is overdevelopment on the site. And they still haven't really addressed. We've moved the properties forward, but there's still, if I remember correctly, the land mass goes up, and it was over. There was slight cases of it overlooking. I know that we sort of sorted that out, but it still causes more bulk. That's my issue. Even though there's no overlooking, because the houses will still be sort of quite predominant and overbearing of the site. I'll leave it there. And
okay, well, let's just see where this goes in a minute. Let me just take others in, and then we'll explore where we go. Councillor Kaufman, did I see you indicate?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm going to sort of probably reiterate some of what's already been said, but can I just ask officers, so you're expecting people to take their rubbish from the back door on a wet Monday morning up to the bin store, which is probably about, well, I don't know, 100 feet or so, probably more?
We're expecting the occupier of property D.
Property D is all right, Chairman. I'm not worried about that.
All the others will have a gate out of their rear garden.
Right, okay.
Into Lingfield Close.
Right, okay. So they've still got to take the rubbish from the house up to the bin store at the bottom of their garden.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Correct.
Right, and they can drop the rubbish outside, shut the door, and come back in the same way.
Correct.
Right, okay. I think Councillor Haggart has covered the driveway and access for emergency vehicles, etc. I think this report's pretty robust. However, I am a bit concerned that it is overdevelopment, but I think officers have actually sort of tried to sort of mitigate all the different things. And I think with that one condition that James Roger mentioned, I think I'll go with this.
Thank you. Councillor Kaufman, Councillor Oswald.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, most of it's been said actually by the time I've got there. But anyway, the only thing I can't see working properly once again is the refuse. But I won't go into that because enough's been said about that. I was a little bit concerned when I looked at the plans because I didn't see an awful lot of difference, Chairman, between the last application. However, Councillor Kaufman's right. It is quite a robust application and report. And I tend to agree with Councillor Kaufman and Councillor Haggart. I think we'd be struggling. To refuse this. You know, I mean, looking at it, yeah, is it overdevelopment? Maybe it is, but I think it's all been mitigated, mostly anyway, Chairman. So I'm quite happy to go with officers' recommendations, and I'm quite happy to move the recommendation.
You're going to move that for me in a moment. Thank you. Let me just take we've got mixed views on this, so I'll take a check round the table. I haven't heard from Councillors Singh and Dot, I think I've heard from everybody else. Councillor Dot, have you got any views on this one?
No, Chairman. I think I go with the officer recommendations.
You would, okay. And Councillor Singh?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll go with the officer's recommendation.
You would, okay. So that's the Councillor Oswald has moved officer recommendations. Can somebody else second it? Councillor Haggard, thank you for your signal. Could you just
Yes,
confirm
I'll second.
for me?
Yes, I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you. Good. Just otherwise the legal officer tells me off for not checking. Well, in that case, I am proposed and seconded. I think there's a split, I know, but it would appear that subject to the additional condition, the majority of members appear comfortable with the officer report. So on that basis, I'm going to take the vote forward. So the vote is to approve the officer recommendation with the additional condition. Councillor Higgins.
Against, Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Hagger. Oh, you seconded, so you're definitely for. Councillor Kaufman.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Morgan.
Against.
Councillor Oswell, you propose, so you're for. Councillor Dott.
For Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Singh.
For Chairman.
So I make that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the officer recommendations, 2 against, and obviously Councillor Melvin isn't voting on this one. Therefore, the officer report is approved. Do you agree, Luke?
Yeah, I can confirm that. Yep.
Good. Last of the petitions done, so we've one more to do on the part 1 section, which is item 8, which is 29 Manor Road, Ruislip. James, when you're ready, if you could present for me.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm back in, Chairman.
Good. We're all good to go.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just click down to the relevant part of the presentation. Oh, yes. We'll just see some interesting photographs.
We'll move through those if we might.
Thank you, Chair. This is item 8, 29 Manor Road. As shown on the slide, the application site is located on the southern side of Manor Road. Permission is sought for the demolition of a detached garage and the erection of a 2-storey side extension, a single-storey rear extension, and a disabled ramp to the side of the property. I'll click down to the existing floor plans. So the current slide shows the existing floor plans, and the next slide shows the existing elevations of the property. The next 3 or 4 slides show the proposed floor plans with the proposed extension to the left, effectively, of the existing property. And once again, these are the proposed elevations. The lower left-hand slide elevation shows the 2-storey extension as proposed in situ. I'll click down. This is effectively a proposed site plan showing the roof form of the extension in place. And then I'll click down through the photographs, Chair. These photographs show the existing house, a different angle, the existing garage, a view through between the properties, the rear of the house, the next door house, I think that's number 27, again the garage, a view in the opposite direction to existing houses which are not on Manor Road. And then this, I think, is helpful for members, to assist members in their consideration. I added these photographs myself, showing the existing properties, a sort of a street view down one side, or from what is effectively, I think, the east of the property. And then again, because the property is on the south side, we're looking at a street view from the west. To assist members, 2 previous applications for a similar size extension were refused in 2016 and 2017 on grounds of size, scale and design. The following representations were received. There were 4 objections. The objections are summarised in the report, but they include change to the character of the existing property, overbearing impact, loss of open gap, loss of light and design. A ward councillor requested the application be referred to committee if recommended for approval. they consider the proposals to be an overdevelopment of the site. In terms of the main planning issues, the proposed side extension measures 4 metres in width and 8 metres in depth, including a rear projection of 1.6 metres. This is set beneath a hipped roof of approximately 8 metres, which is set down 1 metre from the main ridge and set back 1.4 from the front elevation. To the rear of the extension, there's a single story element of the same width and 1.5 metres in depth beneath a pitched roof approximately 3 metres high. To the rear of the main dwelling and adjacent to the side extension is also proposed a further single story rear extension, 4.8 metres in width, 1.6 metres in depth, and with a pitched roof to match. Officers consider that the proposals would not result in an unneighbourly form of development and would provide satisfactory living environment for future occupiers. It is considered that the subordinate design and appearance of the proposed extensions, by reason of their set down from the main ridge and set back from the front elevation, would be acceptable, and the proposal would comply with local plan policies. The application is recommended for approval accordingly, subject to the recommended conditions, matching materials, no additional windows or doors, etc., as set out in the report. And if I could draw members' attention to the addendum sheet, where an additional condition is proposed, condition 6, requiring details of boundary treatments. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, there are no petitions on this one. Councillor Higgins, I saw you indicate.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I like this application. I think they've done it well. They've set it back slightly. Side extension is not going to be over dominant, I don't think. And I will go with officer's recommendation and propose this. Thank you, Chairman.
I see Councillor Morgan, followed by Councillor Melvin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Higgins on this. It's whilst originally just looking at the reports, we were thinking, are you sure? But seeing the plans and the photographs, I'm quite happy to second the officer's recommendations.
Okay, Councillor Melvin.
No, I was going to say the same. I was going to second.
Okay. I see now. Oh, I see James Rogers' hand's the only other hand I've got.
Yeah, sorry, can I make a minor change to one of the conditions, Councillor Lavery?
Yeah, cool.
Just on reflection, I'm surprised the conservation officer hasn't recommended we get samples of materials rather than do the matching materials condition. So usually for large extensions in conservation areas, we actually request samples of the tiles and materials, so we can be completely certain that they're going to be a good match. It's a slightly stricter condition. Can I request members delegate to me to do the sample condition rather than the matching?
Yeah,
condition?
I can't see members objecting to that, James. So I'm going to.
We can agree that. We can agree that.
I thought you would.
Yeah, we'll agree that one.
Right,
makes sense. To me.
Okay, we are proposing second. I've got no other hands, so there is. This is subject to a condition in the addendum and a delegation to the head of planning to rework condition 3 to the stricter version that means samples have got to come in first. So subject to that, Councillor Higgins has proposed officer recommendations. Councillor Hagger.
Yes, for officer's recommendation.
Councillor Kaufman.
Yes, for officers' recommendations, Chairman.
Councillor Melvin.
Yes, for the recommendations.
Councillor Morgan seconded. Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, for, Chairman.
Councillor Dott.
For, Chairman, thank you.
And Councillor Singh.
For, Chairman, thank you.
That's 8 voting for officers' recommendations. That one's approved. You concur, Luke?
Yeah, I can agree with that, Chairman.
Good. Item 9, please, can I ask that it's noted? It's not for debate, it's just for noting.
Noted.
Yeah, noted, Chairman.
And at that point,
noted, Chairman.
Can I thank those who have joined us on YouTube tonight? We're about to go into the private part of the meeting. Can I please ask that the YouTube feed now be shut down, please?
Many thanks, Chairman. If everyone could just mute themselves, please, and I will shut down the YouTube feed and we'll head into part 2.